Hi, I'm Doug Oster from the Pittsburgh Post-Gazette. Welcome to Digging with Doug. Today it's all about weeds. We're going to learn how to control them naturally without chemicals, and the first thing to learn is just cover them up. So why weed control without chemicals? Well, every time you put a chemical down, you're killing something under the ground. That means that could be an earthworm, insect, even something you can't even see, like a tiny microorganism. We want to try and do it organically, because all those things that are under the ground help plants grow. The great news is that there's lots of organic products out there that can do the same thing a chemical herbicide could do. And there are some techniques that you can use to keep the weeds down, and one is what I talked about at the opening, is mulching. In the vegetable garden, I use straw. Out in the flower garden, I use bark mulch. By continually putting that down over the weeds, you'll basically smother them. You won't have to worry about it. You don't have to pull them. Pulling weeds is the last resort. So let's get some of this straw on top of these weeds. These are actually wild violets, and I just let them go because I love when they bloom, and they look fine now. It looks kind of like maybe a little hosta or something. But these weeds over here closer to the plants, there's all sorts of stuff. I'm just going to smother them and with the straw, and you can see around the garlic here, some grasses have started to come out. Smothering them not only stops the weeds, but it's also going to keep that nice even moisture we want for these plants. And even though straw now is $6 a bale, back in the old days we paid $2.50, it's still an affordable way to keep the weeds down. Next, we're going to look at an organic product that stops weeds from sprouting, that's completely safe. It's often used on lawns, but it can also be used in flower beds and in the vegetable garden. So let's take a look at that. This is Organica's first step of their 4-step organic lawn program, but we're going to actually use it on the vegetable garden. The active ingredient in here is called corn gluten meal, and it stops all seeds from sprouting, even the good seeds. What we have here is a bed of cucumbers that have already come up. So any other seeds that sprout, weed seeds, won't be able to with the application of corn gluten meal. In the lawn, we would put this on when the forsythia bloom, because that's when those lawn weeds are going to sprout, or that'll be before they sprout. And so right now, any place that we've got plants already up that we want to stop the weeds from sprouting, we're going to put this on, and it's very simple. Normally, I would have bought just corn gluten meal if I could find it, but all I could find this time of the year was this with a fertilizer in it, and since there's a fertilizer already in it, that's an added bonus for it. So we're just going to kind of sprinkle it on the soil here, and it won't affect the plants that are already here, but any seeds that might want to come up, any weed seeds, annuals, it's going to stop them from sprouting, which is a great thing. You know, after I do this, I'll also put on a nice layer of mulch, and you can see I've already built a trellis here for them to grow up on. And now we're going to go medieval on some weeds, and I'll show you how. Okay, we got a little bit of machinery to take care of our weeds. Weed whacking is an effective technique, just taking a plant top growth off, and continually taking that top growth off will kill perennial weeds, even if it's Japanese knotweed. Whatever weeds you're dealing with, poison ivy, anything, keep cutting it off weekly, and it's eventually going to die back. One word of wisdom for any garden tool, whether it's a weed whacker or a shovel: buy the best one that you can afford. I've probably been through 5 or 6 of these cheap ones, and I finally got a good one. It's lasted me for years. And also, always wear the safety glasses. You might not think you look manly with your safety glasses on, or you might not think you need them. But in the 20s, I didn't wear one, and you get a couple things close to your eye. With age comes wisdom. Always wear your safety glasses. All right, let's get this thing started up. Starting a weed whacker can always be an adventure, but we'll see if we can. And I like to use it, not in full power, but just for these little weeds, just barely getting after them. I like how it sprays the manure up too. Okay, last resort, we've got to pull some by hand. I've got a perennial bed over here that in a couple of weeks we're going to completely redo, and the bane of my existence in there is bindweed. let's go over and take a look at it. You know, I know it might seem a little odd talking about organics and using that weed whacker, but sometimes you've got so many weeds, that's the only way you can get it done. Now in this bed here, there's no way we can weed whack. This is all going to have to be hand pulled. I can't wait to redo this bed and get down in here, but I don't want to ruin the plants that are here. I've got nice old-fashioned peonies and some phlox coming up, but this bindweed, if you've ever had to deal with bindweed, it's just awful. I've actually made some inroads with it. But this type of weed, and many other perennial weeds, the only way to deal with it is go right down to where it comes out of the soil and just flick it off there. Because if we were to go on there and dig or try and separate it, we would make 1,000 other weeds. So that's what we're going to do. I'll see you in a minute. And when we pull them up, it'll be gone. I've got so much more to do in this bed, I can't wait to redo it. Next week we're going to continue our talk about weeds. We're going to talk to an author who's written all about weeds. Now, don't forget, if you have a garden question, log on to www.post-gazette.com/homes, and also that's a place where you can tell me, hey, what do you want to see on Digging with Doug? Until then, I guess it's off to the rest of these weeds and one little peony left, and they smell just great. We'll see you next week.